Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. So here are all the materials you'll need for this project, all of which were purchased from Home Depot. So obviously artificial turf, 50 pounds of 6-inch nails, a weed barrier, all-purpose stone, decomposed granite, some landscape edging, and some silica sand. And here are the tools I used. So some sort of hammer, a stiff push broom, shovel, a manual tamper, utility knife, pickaxe, a wheelbarrow, straight bow, rake, and some sort of long level or a 2x4 works. So let's begin. So the previous owners just had some mulch in this area, so I just had to remove that, and the ground was pretty compact. So what I did was I just took some weed killer and I sprayed it around the area, especially along the edges, because that's most likely where the weeds are going to grow. So just make sure you cover the whole area pretty good. So the next step was to make sure that the ground was compact. I did have to remove a sprinkler head, so I capped that. So I'm just tamping it down a little bit. After that, it's installing the weed barrier. So I had some extra weed barrier from a previous project and just rolled it out. So I secured the barrier with the 6-inch nails just along the perimeter, but I did hit a snag. As I was putting the nails in, one of the nails just wouldn't go down into the ground because step 3, remove this concrete boulder that was buried. That's why the nail wouldn't go through. And while I was doing that, guess what? There was another concrete boulder next to it, so I had to remove that, and both of these weighed probably 100 pounds each. It was a pain in the ass to remove. So after removing those boulders, I had to prepare the subbase again. I had some dirt on this part of my house that I was able to use to fill the huge holes that were caused by those little boulders. So after that, I tamped down a little bit, reinstalled the weed barrier. This time, everything worked out pretty good. The nails went in easily. There was nothing impeding it, so the weed barrier was secure at this point. At this point, I was installing the landscape edging. Since the turf was not going to go all the way to the fence, I had to create a little edge, and I just used some landscape edging from Home Depot, some rubberized edging that I was able to secure the turf to. The next step was to prepare the base, and I used a combination of all-purpose stone and decomposed granite. So the first layer, I used the all-purpose stone just to fill in most of the area. This provides some good irrigation for any water to seep through. Then on top of this stone, I put the decomposed granite, and decomposed granite is your final layer before you put the astroturf. This provides a pretty level surface so that your astroturf lays flat on this ground. I would say the most difficult part of this whole job was the labor, carrying all these bags back and forth from Home Depot to the car, unloading it, then bringing it to the back, then emptying it in this area. Didn't bode well for my aging body, my bad back. So this step, I had a 4-foot level that I used just to screed the surface. And I really didn't need to level it because the top portion was a little bit higher than the lower portion, just to allow for rain to seep down to the drains. I just happened to have an 8-foot level from a previous project again. That worked perfectly to screed the top. Then I just wet the surface a little bit before commencing with lots and lots of tamping. So this was pretty hard on my forearms, just the constant tapping, and I did it twice. So I wet the surface again, and I don't know why I closed the umbrella. I thought I needed to dry, but actually the point is to let the water seep in. So opened back the umbrella and started tamping again. I'm sorry for the umbrella not making it very easy to see the area, but I live in Southern California and it was about 82 degrees out, so it was pretty hot. So finally, we get to install the turf. So I positioned the turf over the area and I cut off some of the excess. And then the next step was to secure the edges with about 1,000,000 nails. So right here, I'll show you how to put the nails in. You really want to pull the grass back. The grass points in a certain direction, so pull in the opposite direction to the point where you can see the black area. Then you just nail the nail in and then move the turf a little bit to hide the nail, and just like that, it just disappears. You want to be careful though. You don't want to hit the nail in too deep because it'll cause dimples to form in your turf. So lots and lots and lots of nails. I also used a carpet stretcher just to make sure that the turf was pretty taut. You don't want any loose pieces that'll cause any ripples. So this part's just putting in the nails. Make sure you put them about 3 to 6 inches along the edges, and then another row about every third nail behind the first row of nails, and then just put some random nails in the middle just to prevent it from sliding or bunching up. So at this point, I put about 1,000,000, again, nails into the turf, and I started cutting off the edges to clean it up. Did I mention it was hot? It was very hot. And doing this by myself was a chore. So here, I'm just cutting off the edges. So on the edges, I watched a couple YouTube videos where they used a pry bar to kind of tuck in the edge, but that didn't really work for me. So what I did was I noticed that my first row of nails weren't very close to the edge, so I just put another set of nails just to secure the edges so they don't pop up. So I told my wife that the edges weren't going to look perfect, but that will just add to the realistic look of grass. I think she bought it. So finally, the last step was adding the finishing sand. So I bought a 100-pound bag of Silica Sand from Home Depot, and the rule of thumb is 1 pound of sand for every square foot. So I just eyeballed it and put sand. The whole point is to weigh down the turf, and the sand also helps to keep the blades sticking up. So I just poured it all out, and then with a push broom, just constantly pushed and pushed and pushed until the sand settled to the bottom of the turf. I could have used a power broom, but I was really trying to save money and not have to rent one. So this is the final product. I think it came out pretty good. I didn't have to rent any tools from Home Depot. I just used some garden tools that I had around the house. And here's some of the edges. Here's that edge that I created, so you can see how high the turf is. So again, I didn't rent any tools from Home Depot. I could have rented a tamper, I could have rented a power broom, but trying to save money, I just used a regular broom, and I used a $30 manual tamper. And this is the result. So if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. On to my next project. Thanks.